Once your template is set up in Zoho Sign, you're ready to create sign mappings. A quick note, if you've just made your template, head to the settings page and manually sync them to ensure they appear. Now we'll bridge the gap between your Zoho template and a Salesforce object. Let's use the employment contract as our example. You'll simply select your template and then map it to the appropriate Salesforce object type, whether that's a contact, a lead, or an account, and so on. You will then select the Salesforce status to be applied to a contract once it's fully signed. For example, you might choose completed if the contract requires subsequent manual review, or done if no further action is needed post-signing. This status is primarily for use within Salesforce, allowing you to effectively filter contracts and identify those that need attention. Visually, this distinction is represented in the component by the color blue for completed and green for done. In the contextual data section, you configure how data is mapped between Salesforce and your Zoho document templates. This section typically presents at least one default mapping line, the mapping to the selected object type. For example, you can set up request mapping to define how Salesforce data populates your Zoho template when a contract is sent. In the Signer section, you need to map the name and email of the roles to Salesforce data or static values. In this example, for the employee, we reference it to the Salesforce contract full name field. For the employee email, it's the email field of the contact. But for HR, for example, we want to use a static value. Then we can also map the fields that are marked as pre-filled by you in Zoho Sign. For example, we map the company as reference to the name of the account. Result mapping addresses the use case where data entered into a contract needs to be saved back to your Salesforce records. For example, if a contract requires signers to fill out certain fields, this feature enables you to capture that inputted information and automatically update the relevant contact record or other related objects in Salesforce. You can add multiple lines here. When you need data from other objects that are related by a many-to-many or one-to-many relations. The system allows for the integration of data from related Salesforce objects directly into your contracts. For instance, you might use information from a specific work order. When preparing to send such a contract, the user will first need to select the relevant work order instance. To make this selection more manageable, administrators can apply filters to the list of choices, such as limiting it to show only work orders with an in-progress status. Importantly, the full suite of mapping capabilities, including request mapping for pulling data into the contract and result mapping for saving contract data back to Salesforce, can be configured for these chosen related objects, just as it can for the main object of the contract. Following this, you will need to configure the sign forms,